we live? We're almost live. It's spinning. I'm fired up. It's an exciting show. We've been doing shoulder presses.
Yeah.
Leg lifts,
crotch extenders,
thrusts,
crotch
extenders.
thrusts.
Like we go to LA Fitness and do crotch extending thrusts.
Yeah,
for
we
hours.
work our inner thighs out more than any two guys you've ever met.
Cake
We've got
boy
inner
exercises.
Yep, I got more inner thigh strength than the average man.
And you can test that. You can challenge Ian.
Yeah.
And we can measure this.
Yeah.
All right. We're also live on Rockfin now. Welcome everybody who's joining us in the chats on Rockfin, YouTube, and Rumble, and Twitter. I don't know if there's chats on Twitter. But the Bitcoin 2024 conference is fast approaching, with the event happening on July 25th through 27th in the home of country music and bachelorette parties, Nashville, Tennessee. And as far as I can tell, looking at the lineup on the website and following the organizers' Twitter, this is probably going to be a pretty wild event. I mean, we're talking Libertarian National Convention wild, minus the rampant autism and with a hell of a lot more chicks.
Will fake Trump be there?
I don't know. I tried to get fake Trump. I contacted him. I said, hey, you want to come hang out for a few minutes later? And he shunned me. I don't know what he's doing. So hopefully he'll be there.
He's got all these fake trials to fight, this fake election to be a part of.
Right, yeah. Fake campaign to run.
Fake campaign.
And so couple that, just that right there, because there's already a lot of enthusiasm and excitement around Bitcoin as it is. With this being an election year, the dollar seemingly losing more and more value every second, and Trump now going around and promising, you elect me, I'll protect your Bitcoin from Pocahontas, evil Elizabeth Warren.
Good.
And what you have is a very newsworthy and relevant event coming up, which is why I'm excited to have with us on the show today to talk about it. The man behind Bitcoin 2024, Brandon Green. Brandon, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, that's a great intro, and certainly you're hitting on some fun elements that we might be enjoying in the next month.
I hope so. So if my camera went out, I'll have to. Can you guys hear me still?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So I'll fix my camera.
Yeah, you just look disappointed at me.
Yeah. Yeah, I blacked out over here, it looks like. But just before we get into anything else, Brandon, I'll fix my camera while you're giving us your answer. What is Bitcoin 2024, and why should people who are Bitcoin enthusiasts and those who are maybe skeptical or new to it, why do they need to make sure to be in Nashville at the end of next month?
Yeah, so it's a good question. Like Bitcoin 2024, first and foremost, we're the largest Bitcoin conference in the world. And with that comes, what I think is a very relevant cultural phenomenon. As Bitcoin becomes more and more of a movement, across the United States, across the world, it's not just money. It intersects all parts of culture, all parts of politics, and all sorts of stuff. So the Bitcoin conference really grows alongside Bitcoin. And what to expect this year? I mean, well, he just hated his answer, but I'll keep going.
No, keep going.
What to expect this year is, a lot of surprises. We even have maybe another comedian or two that we haven't announced that we're going to be announcing maybe by Monday, let's say.
Are you going to announce Ian and I as performing?
Like here tonight?
No. Y'all's announcement is soon, but
Okay.
not yet. But we got a pretty good one coming out on Monday, I think. Wednesday at the latest, and then
Is it Gallagher?
maybe it's not Gallagher. No,
Okay.
This one's going to come out of left field, I think.
Okay.
So,
That's cool.
I think
I'm
people are gonna be
excited.
surprised.
Yeah,
Gallagher's still alive. I think he died.
I think he died, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
I was surprised when I saw on your Twitter feed today that TJ Miller is going to be there.
Oh, cool.
TJ's super
He's
funny
super
guy.
Miller's
funny.
gonna be
Oh,
there.
yeah, super funny.
So TJ, not to go too deep into this, but when I first started doing comedy, when I did Second City stuff up in Chicago years and years ago, like late or 2007, maybe something like that. I did a handful of shows with TJ. This is like right before he kind of got super huge. And the dude's like the funniest person you've ever met in your life. I've never seen somebody improvise a stand-up set as well as he can. And he's super nice. He's like a super nice guy. So
he's the kind of funny that you can just watch him do anything. it'd be funny watching him make an
Dude,
omelet.
people would give him props
anything.
at open mics, and he'd
Yeah.
like do a 10-minute set on it. It was
like
brilliant.
he's super funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I expect his speech will be laced with humor just because he's naturally kind of electric. So that's awesome. What about Trump and Biden? Are they going to be speaking there?
Yeah, that's the $1 billion question. I can tell you that we're talking to both of them. I can
Cool.
tell you that there is varied amounts of interest between the two of them in speaking. But who knows? Who knows whether they end up speaking? Hopefully, we can maybe get you some more information soon, though.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I know Vivek's going to be there. I feel like
cool.
Vivek is always somewhere giving a speech. There's got to be like a dozen or 24 Viveks because the dude is prolific. But he is, I think he has been, probably important to helping Trump get more into the crypto Bitcoin community because he's a little bit younger and he gets a little more. How did you get, people like Vivek? How did you go about organizing something like this from, where it was? Like people who aren't that familiar with Bitcoin or who just got into it, it appears to them that this conference, which is popular last year's, it was apparently amazing. It seems like it just came out of nowhere. So how did you organize something so big to draw so many really big names in what seems in such a short period of years? I mean, the growth wise, that was a terrible way to frame a question, but you get what I'm saying.
No. It's actually, it's a funny story, and it's a little bit of the secret sauce that I'm more than happy to reveal to really anyone. What it was is like a little bit of timing and a little bit of luck. In 2021. This 2021 was technically our second event because we were supposed to have one in 2020 and COVID, right? We were the first event back in the world post COVID.
Really
Interesting.
Yeah,
I mean
so
that's like
meant,
a great thing too, like a badge of honor, I think.
Yep.
Oh, dude, it was such a badge of honor, and we had like all of the mainstream media outlets there who showed up in person. Let it be known that they showed up in person
away.
to then write about how we were murdering all of our attendees by hosting this conference,
which they screamed at you, muffled.
I'm sure
through
they've
their mask.
apologized. I'm sure they've apologized.
Yeah, no, they definitely have retracted all of their hit pieces, and they would never write one again.
Dude, they're all so full of shit,
like,
man. I'm sorry.
Dude, they really are. Yeah. They really are. And it's funny, like they'll reach out to you, and they're so friendly.
I know.
When they reach out to you for the first time. Yeah, they're just like, hey, I'm really new to this space, and I was hoping you could like teach me a little bit about what's going on, And it's like it's always something so innocuous,
and you have no idea
like,
that's a fucking vulture.
Yeah. They'll be like, okay, so when's the conference? Where is it? And why do you hate people? Why are you a psychopath?
You
it's
racist.
Just like, okay, yeah, exactly. So no, it's been funny. So anyway, we are the first event back from COVID. We're in Miami. It's the only city in the U.S. that was allowing in-person events at that time, and we were like the first one they were allowing. So it was just like all the credit to Mayor Suarez down there for making this happen.
Dude, I bet that was wild with people like getting out for kind of the first time.
Exactly. It really was. And so it became like this thing where it wasn't even Bitcoiners that were showing up. Like tons of Bitcoiners showed up for sure. But it was a lot of people that were just like, fuck, man, like I can go outside again. Like I'm going to this event.
Right.
And so we ended up having like somewhere around 10,000, maybe 11,000 people there. The fire marshal came, they tried to shut us down. We were in way too small of a venue. Like we weren't expecting that big of an event. Then the week of the event, we had some great characters. Like Jack Dorsey made his first public appearance around Bitcoin. You had Michael Saylor making his first public appearance around Bitcoin.
By public appearance, you mean these were personalities that were kind of anonymous online before that?
Yeah, like Jack Dorsey was the founder of Twitter, but had he really talked about Bitcoin like
Jack
that
Dorsey.
publicly?
Yeah, damn.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like he had certainly never appeared publicly, to talk about Bitcoin in like a really, really big way, right? And then similarly, Michael Saylor, like if you remember in 2020, like late 2020, he started using his company and just buying, buttloads of Bitcoin and putting on MicroStrategy's balance sheet. But he had never like actually gone to a public event after he started doing that. So it was his first time kind of being out in the limelight. And then, what the crazy thing that happened that truly kind of just made it all go haywire was a week before the event, we got contacted by our buddy, Jack Mallers, who basically was like, hey, I've been living in El Salvador for the past year, few months to a year. And I managed to meet the president of El Salvador, and we started talking about Bitcoin.
Wow.
And he started really diving in. It was like, I love Bitcoin. And we were like, let's make it legal tender. And he said, okay. And so he came to us. He was like, they want to announce legal tender at your event. And we were like,
that's great.
Okay. That's
shit.
incredible.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
That is
so
one of the coolest things, man. I bet that was overwhelming for you,
Oh, dude,
so much happening.
It
It's just got to be like, whoa.
It was. And so it created this moment in time where it was, you just gotta picture it. And the people who were there, I swear most of them will remember this forever. But it's your first time out in a year and a half. You've just gone through a global pandemic. You're going to this Bitcoin conference. Bitcoin had just gone from, $3,000 a year before to $60,000. And you're all together, just vibing, having a good time. And then the president of a country comes out and is just like, I love Bitcoin. We're making it legal tender. And I'm not kidding. Most people were crying in the audience.
I bet they went buck wild crazy when he made that. What was he butt naked? Doesn't he operate butt naked? I read.
No, not in his speeches. Just
good.
Just
okay,
afterwards.
I wasn't sure.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it was cool. So anyway, that really propelled us into, let's say, the mainstream. And then from there, the secret sauce is just asking people. It's just people who you have no business talking to, just go talk to them. And then they end up kind of usually, it just works, you just go what is so-and-so's email address? And then you send him an email and he's like, yeah, sure.
That's a whole nother self, just you can do it type of show. But you're a younger guy. You're in your 20s, I believe, doing this, which is, I think, incredible. It's such an accomplishment. But just asking, you will sometimes get an answer you don't expect. But people, because they position things or people in their minds on a pedestal, they just never ask.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's such a great lesson.
Yeah, and so it's 100%. That's been the secret sauce, is you just ask. And the only thing that I can say, you can be strategic with it. And this is where, maybe it takes a little bit of a sociopath to put it all together.
Yeah.
But you start the meme from It's Always Sunny, where he's got the strings on the thumbtack board, and he's
that's funny,
putting together the
conspiracy. I actually had a background that had a conspiracy murder board up earlier, just didn't look right in the light. So yeah, totally.
Perfect. Yeah. So just imagine me in the war room with one of those, being well, so-and-so knows so-and-so, and they're both friends with this person. Right. So then if I confirm this person to come, and I go to them and I'm hey, so-and-so is coming, therefore you'll come, and so that's truly how I built the speaker set. It was all about who's friends with who, and who can I get that will topple the next person then kind of thing.
That is
that's very
smart. And that nugget right there, I just think is such a valuable piece of information for anybody who's younger, just trying to understand, how do you get access to people? It's really maybe not as complicated as, it's not back smoky room stuff. It's just doing the work like you're doing and finding those links and connections that can intrigue them, because you have a product, or not, a product, but you have, I'd say, a collection of people in an organization. It's part of a big movement that intrigues people. So why the hell wouldn't you try and get in contact with some of these influential people?
Well, and I think influential people have become much more approachable in the last, decade than they were
ever since Bill Gates got pied in the face.
Oh yeah, it's so great. I love that he had to turn the comments off on his Instagram page. One of my favorite things used to just to go there and just read the comments on.
I know, dude.
I loved it.
It's brutal.
Oh, it's so great. Best comment thread ever.
Die. Yeah. Half of them are from his ex-wife, I think. That guy he used to be married to. I shouldn't go in. I shouldn't be mean like that. So, Brandon, let me ask you this. I was very, very stupid. I fell into the the meme coin trap a little bit when Elon Musk was helping pump up Dogecoin. And, you know, I had like a $5,000 profit or something off of really not that much money because of how pumped up it got. And then he did the worst Saturday Night Live hosting performance anybody's ever seen in their life. I mean, talk about, I mentioned autism at the beginning. That was, I like Elon Musk, but my God, what's crazy, dude, is somebody listened to the show. I thought it was bogus. They contacted me and they said, hey, I know a friend working on SNL set. I got the entire script. And they sent me the script a week before the show. And I'm like, this is bullshit. Then I watched the show fucking verbatim. But I didn't do anything with it. It's because I didn't believe it. But it's a little wild, though. But that kind of thing, and the thing with Sam Bankman-Fried and Voyager. So I had like probably $25,000 in Voyager. And I was going to let some of it sit. I put off learning how to do the hard wallet. I don't even know the right terminology for it, but the one that gives you more security and control over it instead of these online platforms. And then Voyager went bankrupt and they did this settlement. I ended up getting like $3,000. I mean, it was just, you lose so much money, and some people much more. Can be devastating. So what are your thoughts just on those types of things and the trust that people need to have or gain in it to, you know, decide to give it a try?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. Like, and it's going to be like those sorts of experiences are the number one obstacle to more people learning about Bitcoin. Like, you hear the stories of people who used products that were marketed, you know, as safe, normal products, and they weren't. And you know, and so it's really it's hurt Bitcoin's adoption for sure. My answer, and like the reason why we do what we do, is we just focus on Bitcoin. And that's because first and foremost, we believe that Bitcoin is like the only thing in this entire crypto space that actually has long-term value. We actually believe in, and like, you know, its value to the world.
For what reason?
And it's
like differentiating from others. For what reason is that value there?
Yeah, it's a good question. So what I would say is, like, first and foremost, digital scarcity was 99% of the invention.
Yeah.
Okay. Like all of the stuff, you know, if you're looking at like Ethereum versus Solana versus Bitcoin, you know, it's like, oh, well, this one has smart contracts. Oh, well, this one goes faster. You know, like all of that is tinkering with the 1%. 99% was creating a truly digitally scarce money. And Bitcoin did that. And so you're not going to just go outcompete Bitcoin by tweaking that 1% edge, you know, part.
Or making
and there are other things that Bitcoin exactly. And there are other things that Bitcoin does better than any other chain. And so it's like, it's more decentralized. It's harder to hack. It's, you know, it's got more users, it's got more value, like more dollars invested, a bigger network effect. And so for all of these things, it's like, in order to actually disrupt Bitcoin, you've got to have such a like flawlessly perfect, like new idea that just outcompetes Bitcoin in every single way. Otherwise,
CBDC,
you're not going to
like
outcompete Bitcoin.
The central banking digital currency shit is? Did they try anyway?
Dude, the central bank digital currency shit is just governments trying to basically like control your money.
Suck
I mean,
off
you know,
of
it's
everything,
like the ultimate.
Yeah,
dude.
Like,
that's just like the end game.
Yeah. That's what I imagine Bitcoin was created to help fight against, right? That sort of thing.
Well, it's ironic because the technology to do a central bank digital currency didn't exist until Bitcoin. Bitcoin kind of created the tool set to be able to create a central bank digital currency.
And they're like, let's co-opt it.
It's also, it's also the only thing that will like actually be able to defeat it, like, you know, to outcompete it. So it's interesting.
And that's the decentralized aspect of it that it prevents. I'm still, sometimes I feel like I understand this. Then I'll think about it one day and I'll be like, I just don't, I don't get some of the aspects of it, but also I don't get some of the value we put in fiat currency. I mean, go to the grocery store and see how many eggs you can get for less than $2,000. I mean, it's ridiculous these days. So that's an argument for trust. It's like you're worried about trusting that. Go to the grocery store. You try to buy a house. It's unbelievable, the inflation, but this idea of decentralization as protection and the Bitcoin wallets where you don't have people's data or information about them, which is definitely attractive for conspiracy nuts like myself. Well, how does that work?
Yeah, well, so okay, there's a lot of things you bring up. So let me start like in the beginning a little bit. For people who are, let's say, free market people, price is the number one coordinator, and it's the number one piece of information. And so in some ways, like, you should never fuck with price, because price is the clearest signal you can get in the market. The way that you ensure that you're not fucking with price is to not fuck with the metric by which you measure price. And that is money, right? Like, if something costs $1 and you start fucking with what $1 actually is worth, then what does it mean that it costs $1? Like, you don't know. Maybe it costs $2 now.
Dollar stores are like $7 stores now.
Exactly, like Dollar General. I mean, they hedge by saying Dollar General.
Yeah,
it's like dollar-ish. But yeah, so it's like you don't want to fuck with the money, and the value prop of Bitcoin is that you can't, right? If all of us today came together and we were like, we want more than 21 million Bitcoins, and there was like one person out there that was like, no, then we would still only have 21 million Bitcoins. Like, it is truly the most, like, the smallest group that wants to maintain the rule set can maintain the rule set.
It's a unanimous jury, it sounds like, to change it. So it's that strong.
Basically. Yeah. As long as, you don't have to define the felony, it's a unanimous jury.
Right. Be very vague in the indictment, and that's fine.
But so anyway, compare that now with a US dollar, right? Like, in the US dollar, we don't even know how many US dollars there are. We don't know how many there's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
We don't know how the decision is made, how to create more. It's the most opaque. You don't elect the people that control the US dollar. There's no way for the citizens to influence the monetary policy of the United States. It's completely opaque and completely out of our control. Totally. And so, and you just have to kind of hope that the people who control it, Yellen and Powell. Yeah, well, it's not even like hope that they don't fuck you. It's like hope that they care about you.
Right.
Like, hope that they're actually optimizing for everyday people's
individual citizens
power.
instead of fucking macro shit.
You would hope so. I mean, you'd hope, because, I get on a plane and I go, the pilot wants to go home too. That's why I'm not going to die.
Right. And the door blows off.
And the door blows off. And then, someone else tries to start throwing people off the plane.
That's a good point, though. They have their own self-interest tied to yours. And that is what you would hope.
Without pulling you guys like too deep down the rabbit hole.
Let's go deep, dude.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. All right. So over the past like 15 years until 2022, we did something called QE, right? Quantitative easing. And what that was is basically a zero interest loan, borrow indefinitely from the government, and you don't have to really worrying about paying interest on it, repaying the debt. And so you can just take out just crazy amounts of debt. That inflates the money supply, like the not M1, but the higher order money supplies substantially. And what that truly does is, you're printing more money, but it's being used to prop up the asset prices of the United States, and so, are we all on the same plane? What's in their best self-interest? They care about the stock market going up more than they care about the price of eggs staying low.
Right. And they're unelected, like you said, so they don't have to worry about what people think about them.
Yeah. And so it's like, are we all on the same plane truly? Or are they very much interested in seeing, their in retirement accounts increase, and the short term, sort of effects on everyday people. It's much harder to really control for. And so we got into this situation where it was like, oh, everything's fine, like the stock market's roaring and the inflation is low. But then there was inflation creeping in the edges. It was all of the little things that created like inequality in our system. So think about how medical costs were just skyrocketing during this period. College, education was skyrocketing during this period.
Yep. Expensive indoctrination.
Real estate, the ability to, own real estate in like a nice area was skyrocketing during this period.
Still is.
And so it still is. Yeah. And so it's like there was rampant inflation. It was just in these areas that benefited the wealthy, or the wealthy were effectively unaffected. And the everyday man was seeing it much harder to climb the socioeconomic ladder.
And those rich people don't see that everyday man that you're talking about. They're blinded from it, maybe not intentionally, but I tell people who will be like, "Oh, you don't trust government or this or that." Well, I mean, if you really think big government cares about the little guy or individual people, find your best friend in your neighborhood, convince them to run for the HOA president, and watch them become a tyrant overnight, and then expand that to big government. They get so shielded from the impact of their decisions because it's so distant from them.
Exactly.
That's why I love what you're saying. Like, I think it's great stuff.
Yeah, well, and so like that, it's also why so many people who are free market and libertarian, and it's like, I don't want to have to hand responsibility to someone else to go make decisions on my behalf. Like, they vibe with Bitcoin because Bitcoin's about controlling the money. It's like you control your own money, and you don't allow anyone to change it, to fuck with it. And so it's like, and then there's this saying in Bitcoin, it's like, fix the money, fix the world. You kind of look at all of the problems you have in society today, and you can kind of play the game. You remember like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, where it's like, give me any word and I'll show you how it's Greek. It's like, give me any problem in the world and I'll show you how the underlying cause is money printing. And you look at like war. I mean, war is an obvious one. Like, how do we fund war? We create deficits. What are deficits? Ridiculous. That's money printing. And so it's like, if you take away the ability to do money printing like that, you take away the ability to wage unpopular wars. You look at poverty.
That's their control on power, though, and you guys are you guys are a threat to that. Like that. I mean, can you imagine the power one might feel who has the key to the money printing room? Like, I'm going to go print a few $1 million today. Like, we can all do counterfeit money, but they'll put it up in the light and they'll see it. But they can print the official money that works anytime that they want. And that is like probably just a power you can get obviously drunk off of. You guys pose a threat to that, like weaken their power, which is what has, I think, made Bitcoin a target of people like Nancy.
Yeah, that's why it's associated with white supremacy now.
Yeah, it's very racist, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's just insert societal ill, and you can find the article about how it's fueling it. Yeah, totally.
The media was sent after you.
You're right. Totally. So do you worry about that though? Because like, this is a movement that has kind of become unstoppable with crypto and Bitcoin. And I don't even like to say like clump them all together. I know people do, because I know that they're very different. So some are just a social fad. You had the Dogecoin and then Shibu, and it's all built on these like trends that can be hyped up in certain telegrams and shit like that just fall apart once everybody's made a quick profit and sold off. Like, but Bitcoin has like that stability to it that the others don't. But do you think about like you are like kind of at the top, near the top of the threat to centralized power list? Do you think like worry about like they send infiltrators and what they might try and do to co-opt?
Oh, well, I don't even worry about that because it's happening in real time. Like, there's plenty of folks in the industry that are building companies or already are operating in the space that I am very skeptical of, let's say. And you know, we don't have to name names. I don't want to name names, but like,
yeah. I know
it's
what you
just
mean.
like, if you're looking at what Bitcoin seeks to do, and you know, people who are on the other side of that understand that, then it is absolutely, like, it's obvious that they would be doing something about it. They would be doing really anything they can about it. So yeah, like I'm not really worried about that, because I just think it's part of what's already happening. Like, you know, what I will say is first and foremost, like where I would maybe disagree with the way you characterize it is that, like, I don't think Bitcoin is actually disrupting anything. I think what Bitcoin is actually doing is it's the one ruler, like ruler as in, like, you know, metric, like meter stick. It is the meter stick by which you can measure the world around you. It's the one constant. And so it's like, before, it was very hard to truly understand like how much fuckery there is in the system.
Yeah.
Now you have Bitcoin, where it's just like the price of Bitcoin is the clearest signal of what's going on. And so, you know, and from there, like all you have to do is just opt into, you know, like you can just opt out of the system into Bitcoin.
Right.
But it's like Bitcoin's just a tool, you know, like it's not doing anything. It's not hurting anybody, you know, it's not challenging anyone's power. It's just there to be used. And so in some
the availability
ways, like,
of it is the threat, I think, is that people can go, oh, you guys are shit, and this might actually be a better option for me.
Well, they can't control it. That's the
right.
threat.
Well, but so realize though, like what we're saying basically is like the lifeboat is the threat to the Titanic. You know, like that.
Totally.
That's what we're saying. You know.
What a great way to put it.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, there's a way for all of us not to go down with the ship. But that's not a threat to the ship. Like, the ship's going down whether we like it or not. And so there, you know, and this is where it's super interesting. And to tie back to the fact that you've got like RFK, you've got Trump talking about Bitcoin, it is possible to become the captain of the Titanic and realize it's sinking. And so, you know, there's this moment where it's like, holy shit, we'll take any sort of solution right now, because we're on an unsustainable path. And you know, when you have a conversation with like a Trump and with an RFK, things that they're interested in is, for instance, creating a strategic reserve of Bitcoin for the United States.
How do we create a reserve? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you met Trump?
And like,
you got to talk to him
currency
about this, or his people?
I haven't talked to him directly.
So
I've talked to his people.
That's interesting. A reserve.
So you could back the currency with Bitcoin. Is that similar to like what, maybe a gold standard or replacement for a gold standard? Is that what you're saying?
You know, I think that you could take it all the way to that, but it doesn't even necessarily have to be that. You know, you could just basically, you could say, I have a whole bunch of Bitcoin here, and that therefore legitimizes my government and my currency, because I have this like backstopping reserve of Bitcoin if needed. Right. Or you could take it all the way to the, like, hey, $1 will always convert for, you know, X amount of Bitcoin. And now you've effectively backed the dollar by Bitcoin. So
go ahead.
You know, who knows like exactly how far anyone will want to take it. But and certainly if you truly do back the currency with Bitcoin, then you, as the person who controls the money printer, you have just erased a major power that you have. So do I think that? Yeah, do I think that we're gonna go that far? Not necessarily, but I do think that that strategic reserve is something that some of the presidential candidates are very interested in. So
that to me is an interesting thing for a candidate to maybe win some votes in a way that's impactful here. Michael says Bitcoin eats fiat. I think Bitcoin is going to be used to wipe out national debts, and I think that comment might be kind of related to what we are talking about here, but it almost feels like, and maybe I'm way off on this, but So the Libertarian National Convention that I was at a couple of weeks ago was very interesting, and it's a party that's very divided. Nobody hates libertarians more than libertarians, and it's just a room full of thousands of people just available to be co-opted by the left or right. Is what I saw. I just started referring to everybody I walked by as a Fed by the second night I was there. It was just so full. Hey, there's a Fed. Hey, that's my Fed. Are you my Fed or are you my buddy? Just everywhere. It seems like they're either Feds or grifters or propagandists with a lot of actually really, really good people trying to push some ideals forward that they believe in, that I think most people believe in just being independent and taking initiative like you do, like you've done with this conference. I mean, that's a very libertarian ideal, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. But that's a party that really doesn't get anywhere in choosing somebody to actually run against the other people. But what I am kind of like thinking about with Bitcoin here is like, that's a similar sentiment that can exercise power by acceptance of people with that mindset without having to put like presidential candidates and shit up. We support Bitcoin. We believe in it. And the strength of our belief in this, along with the other metrics, is what our defense against this system of what some people would call oppression is. Does that make any sense what I just said?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And what I would say is, first and foremost, on average, of course, like Bitcoiners, it's a diverse set. Like you get people from all walks of life, all ideologies in Bitcoin, but certainly there is a strong libertarian core in the Bitcoiner world. And the difference between, like, let's say the Bitcoiner group as like an associated group and the libertarians is that we're not a political party. And so what that means is that
is
Bitcoiners show up in the cabinets and the campaigns and the administrations of senators, presidents, presidential candidates, etc. And like, this is the true power of the Bitcoin movement is, dude, we're fucking everywhere. Like already,
I know, man. Like
there's not a single person who's in office right now. I would be willing to bet there's not a single person in DC who doesn't have someone on their staff who owns Bitcoin, and that person is there, ready to push the Bitcoin narrative forward if they can, if they have an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, people when they get into it, they almost become evangelical about it. Like yeah, go ahead, Ian.
No, I was going to ask. So I'm completely ignorant about it. So how does someone like me? Where do I start? We don't need to take forever, talking about it. But just where would I jump off to learn
on the
more about
Bitcoin rabbit hole?
Yeah. Where would I jump off? Is there an influencer that I can follow?
Somebody who's reluctant.
I have questions like, what percent of my money should I have in Bitcoin?
When will I become a millionaire?
Yeah, when will I become a millionaire?
Yeah. Just like the small, like, the little questions.
Yeah.
I would. So, of course, I'm going to shill my own thing, but we run something called Bitcoin Magazine. It's the first news and information source about Bitcoin in the world. Okay. So it was created in 2011 by a guy named Vitalik Buterin. We bought it from him in 2014, and we gave him some chump change for him to go create Ethereum, which is the second biggest cryptocurrency. And so we've been running it ever since 2014. And we've got great guides on there. We've got all sorts of information. We got it's a great place. It's a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're looking for like one person who is almost to the point where like they're approachable, you can go ask them questions. Like they got good content. I really like a guy, BTC Sessions. He's very technically savvy, but all he focuses on is 101 videos. How to do that, how to set up a wallet, how to send Bitcoin transaction, like all that kind of stuff.
So that's what I needed. Yeah. But like, so that, your question, Ian, for me, I knew because I had people, I talked to people on the show who were big into Bitcoin and they, emphasize the importance of that off-platform wallet so you have control, because you could lose all of it at any point in time if you're on one of these platforms and they go bankrupt. And I just kept putting it off because of the convenience factor that these platforms sell. And it wins so many people over. To have like a 101 guide on, no, seriously, it's not that difficult, because when something's new, Aristotle talked about like learning is physical pain. It creates a new node in your brain that actually causes
we always
pain.
avoid it.
And we avoid it. For the easy solution, these easy solutions lead to a lot of people losing a lot of money. So helping people, for me, the trust factor is simply a matter of helping them recognize that they understand it. And do you guys have stuff at these conferences that are, I know you're going to have a lot of things that are geared towards the enthusiast. Do you have events or booths that are geared towards the newbies that are looking to learn and build trust?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I would say a good maybe fifth of our content is truly just geared to people who are showing up because they've heard of Bitcoin before, but they want to know more about it, kind of thing. Right. So it's a great place to go, certainly, to learn. And it just so happens that we tend to convene all of the best educators, all of the CEOs and the marketers and the salespeople of all these companies,
people,
Yeah. Like any person you just pull aside probably is doing something pretty spectacular in the space. And you can just go ask them direct questions and learn whatever you need to learn. But, to your point real quick, and this is just like a quick lesson that maybe I can explain it even clearer than you've heard before, which is like Voyager, right? You mentioned Voyager. If you look at like, okay, what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin's a ledger with a whole bunch of addresses on it. And so if you want to go own Bitcoin, you got to get an address on that ledger that you directly control. Voyager, in its most simple form, controls one address on that ledger. So in Bitcoin's eyes, Voyager is just like one address. But what Voyager then does is they go take all the Bitcoin they're storing on that address and create a bunch of different accounts off the chain that you're logging into with like a username password. And then you're not relying on the Bitcoin blockchain to secure your money. You're relying on Voyager, the company, to secure your money. And that is not the same security.
And
like
so
Bitcoin is the most secure.
Lack of security can be blamed on Bitcoin when in reality it's the platform and not the actual
And it will
currency.
probably does get blamed
Exactly.
on it. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. 100% Bitcoin got blamed for everything. Bitcoin did not break in any way. Like Bitcoin worked exactly as designed. It was just people thought they were using Bitcoin when they weren't even touching Bitcoin. They were just logging in a username and password into some, company that said that they had the Bitcoin on chain that they didn't actually have.
And I'll tell you, as someone who was on Voyager and lost a lot of money on there because of this, the thing that really killed me the most was you could log on to Voyager, still go on the app after the bankruptcy and after you knew you were only going to get a fraction of what your reserves were there. You could still see the price increases and what your dollar value would be had none of this happened. So you're looking at it going, man, I made the right call to not sell this stuff and keep it. And it just continues. Like my whole thing was just like, I'm just going to buy a bunch of Bitcoin and I'm just going to hold on to it for a while. I'm just going to forget about it. And I didn't take the time to get it off, to get a wallet that's secure. I just put it on there because it's easy. And that's why it really pissed me off. Losing it, I knew there was a risk there and it is a gut punch. But that didn't hit me as hard as seeing how high Bitcoin rose after I lost it all.
Yeah.
When you bought it at the right price, And
totally. No,
I can't emphasize enough.
Don't
Don't use those fucking platforms. Use them. Learn how to do the more secure way. What do you think? Like in a matter of hour, like how long would it take someone? I'm just kind of running through this from my own obstacles and people's everyday lives. Oh, I got to do all this shit. I got to do that. I'll just do this platform here, and then I'll worry about learning this stuff later that's more secure. How long would it actually have maybe taken me to just learn how to do the fucking wallet that's more secure so I didn't have to rely on that? What, a half a day?
No. Well, probably 30 minutes max.
30 fucking minutes.
30
30
very,
fucking
very
minutes,
easy.
dude. That's like $50,000, 30 fucking
Brad,
minutes.
come on. It would have taken you
Yeah,
30 minutes.
But
Dude,
that's
and
my
that's like
point,
that's a
though,
tough
is-
30 minutes. You know, like it probably would take you a lot less, like maybe 5 minutes, to be honest. You just got to set it up. Like you just got to set up a wallet. Like go to the store, go buy a ledger, bring it home, plug it into your laptop.
So this is a physical thing you plug into your laptop, kind of like an external hard drive, right?
Yep. It's like a little thumb drive, basically,
Yeah.
and that thing would have given you everything you needed. It's a very secure device. So
Yeah.
like the thing we say in Bitcoin is like you kind of have to learn it the hard way.
Absolutely.
But you only learn these lessons once,
Yeah.
you know, and so.
That's why I emphasize this. I want
you
people
know,
to know that, like you had this knowledge. I'm sorry to interrupt. You had this knowledge. I had that experience. If I would have taken the 30 minutes you're suggesting, then I would have a lot more fucking money right now.
Half a
So I'm
day.
just,
Yeah. No, I get it. And I've made similar mistakes. Like, again, I think it's like a rite of passage. You end up losing some of your Bitcoin on some centralized exchange or something. Like it's just inevitability. For the sake of posterity, I'll also quickly explain like what actually happened on the Voyager platform, just because, you know, we're public, we're live, and I didn't explain it very well. So the TLDR there, and because like this is important, is
TLDR,
Voyager
Too long don't read. Didn't read.
sorry.
Whatever, don't read
yeah,
that.
too long didn't read. It's like in summary, right? In summary, Voyager, Celsius, BlockFi, FTX, like there's a few of these platforms that all try to do the same thing, which is like park your Bitcoin here, and we will give you a return rate on that Bitcoin. Like let's say 5% yearly, just like a savings account, right? So it looks just like a savings account, right? And so people exactly. But if you think about, okay, you go park your money in a savings account at a bank. Where does that yield come from? Like, where does that return come from? They're going out and they're, not from Soros. Well, not directly from Soros.
I'm sorry to interrupt,
but no, you're good. You're good. So where does that come from? Ultimately, that comes from basically like the bank takes your money, they turn around, they go buy like treasuries, right? And then those treasuries have a yield on them. It's buying the government's debt, and then that yield basically they take some as a bank, they make some money off of it, and then they give you some of it too, right? Like that's the simplest way. When you have Bitcoin, where's the yield going to come from? There are no Bitcoin treasuries. You know, there's only 21 million Bitcoin. There is no Bitcoin issued debt that like, you know, you're able to go buy with your Bitcoin. They could go take your Bitcoin and then go buy treasuries, but those are based in US dollars. So they've just sold your Bitcoin. Like you're getting like, so there was never a very clear mechanism by which you would receive yield on your Bitcoin. And so, like the only thing that they could have possibly said is like they would lend out your Bitcoin to someone else. And then that person, you would basically have a counterparty there who's going to take that loan and pay an interest rate on that loan, and they'd give you part of it. And like the thing is, like if you don't know your counterparty risk, you don't know this person who's taking your Bitcoin, taking that loan, then that's a massive risk, and that's ultimately what ended up taking down all those accounts. So I know that's like a boring little aside, but I just wanted to explain that, you know, in case Voyager's listening.
It actually helped me because to me it sounds like what George Bailey's business was in It's a Wonderful Life. Is your money's in his house, and your money's in his house, and his house, and you don't want to go to Potter over there. But then Bailey actually collapses because Potter's the smart one in real life.
Well, Potter's the good guy in that movie.
Right, George Bailey's a fascist.
He's just trying to teach people lessons, right?
Yeah.
I have a question here. I don't know. I don't know a lot about this field, but you are such a great spokesperson for it. Like I'm very impressed with your knowledge. AREM says how much Bitcoin is data mined or whatever it's called. What advantage in terms of reliability, functionality, security comes from being data mined? Does that connect?
Yeah. Okay. So kind of Bitcoin is mined. All right. New Bitcoin is mined. So there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin. And Bitcoin runs on a blockchain, right? You've probably heard the word blockchain before. What is that? It's a block that confirms a bunch of transactions in it. And then they chain the next block to that last one. using a like hash, a condensed string of characters that correlates to that last block. Like they basically take the entire block, they hash it, and they
these are like
use that as
computer
a seed
digital
for the
terms
next
you're
block.
talking about here, just for clarity. You're talking about. So I hear hash and I think like, have I been owned?
Yeah,
Can I get
yeah.
the hash password? So shit like that on the internet that has these specific identifiers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's tough to start if you don't know the hash, but like, just
Right.
basically think that like each block contains information of the previous block.
Right.
And so by doing that, it means you can't fuck with the previous block because then you fucked with all the other blocks. And so, by having this chain unbroken, it keeps the whole thing secure. All right.
Okay.
When a computer goes in and solves the next block, they basically are able to confirm all the transactions in the next block. They get rewarded some amount of new Bitcoin. Okay. And when Bitcoin first started, it was 50 Bitcoin per block.
Yeah.
In the first 4 years, it was 50 Bitcoin per block. Then it was 25. Then it was 12.5.
Because of the halving, right?
Exactly, because every 4 years it halves the block reward. And so, just back in May, or I guess it was April 20th, 420, we had another halving,
Yep.
which brought us from 6.25 to 3.125 Bitcoins per block now. Mm-hmm. And so eventually it's going to continue to be halved until there are no new Bitcoin mined. And at that point, there will have been 21 million total Bitcoin mined, right? So, I don't remember exactly what the question was, but basically, like, those new Bitcoin, they have no history. That it's brand new, and it's rewarded to the miners for keeping the network secure.
Mm. Yeah, so that, like, I have a friend who does Bitcoin mining. He's like, I've never fucking bought Bitcoin in my life. I just mine it. And he's got like this elaborate computer setup. I'm like, I don't know what any of that means, dude, when he tells me that. He's one of the guys who, like, in 2016 was like, you need to buy some Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. And I'm like, if I had some money, dude, I would, whatever you're talking about. Right?
Yeah.
Then it blew up. He was totally right. And he mines it. And he's got this guy. I don't even pretend to understand how all that goes, but again, the criticisms of like, but well, it's not real, it's fake. Well, you can say the same thing about fiat.
Yeah, that's fake too.
It's all about
we're agreeing on.
What people agree on.
Yeah,
and what can be what they can protect and feel like is not going to get stolen or lost, as the experience that I had. One thing for me, so I'm on. Are you familiar with Rockfin, the platform, Brandon?
I don't know if I am.
Rockfin is a video platform. We're streaming to it right now, and it is fueled entirely by crypto. We're paid in crypto. When you get a subscription there, you get a subscription to not only the person that you subscribe to, they get more of the initial portion of your payment, but you get to see everybody's videos on there. It's very like a lot of conspiracy theorists, Sam Tripoli, stuff like that. Whitney Webb's speaking at your conference. She's on Rockfin a lot, and we're paid in crypto. And I have not. I've been on there for like 2.5 years. I've not gotten any of my money out of there. I think one time, actually, I got my money out of there because I've been terrified that if I do it wrong, I'm going to lose it forever. You know what I mean? Is this am I being super OCD, or is this like an actual thing where if you do the kind of exchange wrong, because it's a Ray coin that we get, RAE coin. It's not a coin that you can find on every exchange, so you have to change it into Ethereum and then do whatever. And this process was intimidating for me. Am I being sensitive, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I would agree that, and I don't want to speak ill of the streaming platform, but this is like, why would you give Raycoin when you could give Bitcoin? Like they trade the same way, they are sent the same way, So part of the challenge is like, with Raycoin, you would have to know, all right, well, is Raycoin its own blockchain? Is it a coin that was minted on Ethereum? Is it on Solana? How do I send it? If it's on Ethereum, then I also need Ethereum in order to be able to send the Raycoin. Like it becomes a little complex. But that's like why I advocate. I'm the conservative dude in the room who's just like, just use Bitcoin. It's like the Justin Timberlake meme. It's like, just use Bitcoin.
Right,
it's cleaner.
Well, the
right?
old one, the new one is the mugshot, but yeah, the old Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, the new one is the
right, the weird mugshot.
This is gonna ruin the tour.
So, but yeah, so like that's my kind of non-answer to your question is,
that's a good answer though.
I couldn't tell you exactly how to send it. But what I will say is, it can be harrowing. It can be a little nerve-wracking the first time you send Bitcoin on chain because the transaction is irreversible. And so you want to make sure you're sending it to the right place. But it's actually, I have never sent Bitcoin to the wrong place before. It's actually like not that difficult to do it right. You just copy and paste addresses. And so you don't even type anything in. You just kind of, you just let the packages of information like stay the same and don't fuck with it. And it'll work just fine.
And destigmatizing it like that, for me, like it certainly has helped me. Like whenever I've been confronted with that, I've just sought out information from people who know what they're talking about. I've just followed their steps and been like, okay, this worked. Because I know people
you can always send like a
money.
test transaction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can always be like, okay, I'm just going to send one and make sure it ends up in the right place.
I know people who I've worked with who are like, oh, I'm going to get this money I'm going to change it to this and that. And I've even told them, even though my base of knowledge is not a lot, I've said, look, you seem a little hasty and like you might lose like $5,000. And they're like, no, I'm just doing it. And then the next day, I just lost $5,000. I'm like, I told you. I'm not saying I know how to do it well. I'm just saying, just seek out advice from people who might know a little bit. And I just think it's and it's probably part of the whole propaganda operation against it to make it seem more complex and difficult than it is because they don't want people doing it. But this destigmatization to me, I don't even know if that's a fucking word, dude. But you know what I'm talking about. The information that helps open people's eyes and give them confidence to endeavor into something that might be better for them personally in their financial life and more secure, I think is very helpful. And I appreciate everything that you're doing. Do you have a few more minutes? I know I've kept you. I have so many questions, but I'm enjoying talking to you so much. You're so knowledgeable. Ian,
dude,
is there some
as
questions?
long as I'm not boring you guys.
No, not at all. Not at all.
You're great, man. Ian, if you have some questions, go ahead.
My questions really are, are just kind of similar to yours, Brad. It's a little intimidating. It's a little terrifying. But I just, where to start, how much to invest at first and getting a ledger. It seems like a lot, but
right.
Yeah, but I'm
gonna. What I would say to like how much would I want in order to get started? Like hesitation and like in terms of like actually diving in. I've always, first of all, I never tell my friends to buy Bitcoin anymore because I told all my friends to buy Bitcoin back when it was $1,000 and no one listened to me. And then they all bought it and then they all bought it when it was like $20,000 at the top of the market in 2017. And then they texted me and they're like, "Hey, I finally bought just like you told me to." And I was like, "I did not tell you to buy at 20,000. I told you to buy at 1,000."
You're responsible for their decision, right?
Exactly. And then it starts going down, and they're like, "Why did you tell me to buy it?" So it's like not that 20,000 isn't like a great time to get in if you have a low enough time preference, right? But it's like
it's a desperation buy maybe for some
every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for me,
and so
I just wanted to buy and hold.
But
I think if you're buying and want to get desperation money, then that's just like gambling.
Exactly. Yeah, I have no clue what the price is going to do tomorrow. I can give you a pretty good idea of what it's going to do in 10 years. So
what's it gonna do
like where I would, it's going to go up and to the right. Probably it's going to add a couple zeros to it in the meantime.
It seems like it would.
Like what I would say in terms of like, how would you get started? I used to tell people never invest more than you're willing to lose. And you could just lose it all. That was because, when I first got into it, it was unclear whether Bitcoin would ultimately succeed. It was still pretty small. It was still pretty young. It's not that small anymore. It's not that young anymore. Mm-hmm. BlackRock and Fidelity and, the US government, they're all fucking around with it at this point.
Right.
Like, it's not going anywhere.
Okay.
I agree.
And so, a new sort of slant on what I would say is don't invest more than you're willing not to lose. And it's like, I truly view Bitcoin as the future. And so it's like, whatever it is that you truly want to save, you should be putting into Bitcoin. And I now treat fiat, I treat US dollars as my like speculative investment. And it's much, it's like, it's taken years for me to like get to that level of comfortability, and Bitcoin's volatile. And so, it's, if you're not comfortable with the volatility of it, then, don't invest that much.
Right.
But I'm comfortable with the volatility. And so I try and keep as much as possible in Bitcoin. And then what I put into US dollars is kind of the money that I need in the short term for normal stuff.
Make a few game stock.
That's how I view it now.
Yeah, so it sounds
yeah, exactly.
like the Bitcoin, you have the confidence in it based on your experience, and you're very in deep with it. Like what you're talking about. You would treat that
I have
more as a retirement.
I have infinite more. I have infinite more confidence in Bitcoin than I do in the US dollar.
Yep.
Period.
Well,
I have no confidence in the US dollar.
Yeah.
I start thinking about my dad, and I know just from talking to him, I know that 80% of his stocks are in Exxon, because he's like, the dividend's great, never fails me. I know it's a lot, but fuck it.
Yeah.
And trying to convince him to go,
tough.
well, why don't you take a little of that and put it in Bitcoin? Like because I had dinner with him earlier tonight. And I was saying, oh, yeah, we're going to be talking to this Bitcoin guy. And my dad's like, what is Bitcoin? And I'm like, well, there's computers that mine it, Dad.
Yeah.
That was about the end of it. But it is something that I think, people who, how would you get people who, the seniors, the people who have all the concentrated wealth, quite a bit of them do, because they're beyond their income producing years. So they've got a huge nest egg just sitting there, getting them into Bitcoin seems like it would be,
that's a
pretty good idea.
Sure.
Yeah, but also a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and like what I will say is people who are later in life, they don't need as much exposure to Bitcoin. Like they're spending their money. They're not so obsessed with like putting away dollars.
Right,
like they're kind of like living their life. They've saved their money, right? And so, is it urgent in my mind to like get my grandparents into Bitcoin? Not really. My parents, I definitely want them to own some Bitcoin. My children, they will only own Bitcoin. I can't imagine. Maybe I would let them, like buy some stocks here and there of companies that they truly believe in. But I would want my kids only owning Bitcoin. And so that's how I kind of view it. It's like, it's going to be a generational trade.
Yeah.
Where, the people who are older will eventually die, and their wealth will be passed to the next generation. And that generation will be more into Bitcoin than the generation before it. Yeah. And the next generation after them will be even more into Bitcoin than that generation.
Yeah, our funerals will be paid in crypto. Unlike theirs.
So really quick,
totally.
Dana's comment here, the IRS asked for Bitcoins on your earnings on your tax filing. So they get reported, Bitcoin gets reported to the IRS?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, like, they have a question there basically in the latest IRS tax filings that says like, do you own, or have you transacted in, or have you been gifted? It's like, they try and cover all the bases. Any cryptocurrency, check a box, and that's it. And then it's on you, of course, to, in the capital gains filings and stuff, log all of the transactions that you've done, which, to be honest, is, I think, pretty bullshit, right? Because
that's what
a lot of people, even take the whole, like, should capital gains tax be a thing out of it. Like, a lot of people use Bitcoin as a currency. Yeah. And so I don't have to log every transaction that I do with the dollar and pay taxes on whether the dollar was higher or lower that day.
Yeah, right.
But you do have to do that with Bitcoin. And so that is like one of those things, when you're going and talking to a president, you're like, and they're asking, hey, how can I help the Bitcoin industry in the United States? Ding, ding, ding. That's a thing that you could do to help us. It's like, let us just fucking use this.
Who let the IRS in? Yeah. How did they get into this thing?
They have a key.
How? Who gave them a key?
Yeah.
What nerd gave them a key?
They're cocksuckers.
Huh?
That's what they are.
Yeah,
they
dude,
want control of everything, like Dana said. They do not like. It's people. There's a joke about like half the country are undercover feds, and the rest of us are the people they're handling. Like we all have a fed. Hey, here's my fed. He's watching you on your webcam. Are you sure you want to see what's going to happen next? But like the big government, the government is this when they want to centralize, and they don't like shit they can't get their hands on because it undermines this administrative system that's been in place for well beyond the presidents, for decades. All these fucking CIA agents they roll out who are 95 years old. I mean, they'll roll out a Michael Hayden, former NSA head, who had a fucking stroke and can't even speak fucking sentences of value, blah, blah, blah. They'll be like, what do you think of this thing? Blah, 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 Trump dictator, and then they'll roll him the fuck off. And it's just that's elder abuse.
And then they'll have someone else will like step in and translate, and they'll be like, he just said this laptop has the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. You just shouldn't understand what he was saying. Yeah.
And Trump raped my wife, his wife. It's just like, they can't. The administrative state wants control. Vivek, I think, probably talks about this too, which he's a great person. He's such a great speaker, and he's so smart. I'm glad he's going to be at the conference. But they want to get control of it, like Dana said, and so they're going to try and use all these mechanisms they can to weasel their way in. Which is why I think it's good that you can get statements from people like Trump with pressure of, "I'll protect your crypto. Won't let that bitch Indian Pocahontas get near it. If Indian get
If Trump says that there's no income tax on tips, I'm going back to work. I'm going back to being a bartender.
Dude, yeah, and stop asking for fucking tips at Starbucks before you even do anything.
Holy shit,
How
that
about
would be
that
amazing.
too?
What a great idea.
Yeah, so dude, thank you for talking with us, by the way, Matt. Go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm really enjoying the conversation. I'm just being mindful. I don't want to keep you guys too long, but also.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. I was just gonna say there is actually a dude who is in Bitcoin that went viral for he tweeted about like, this is what my rule of thumb is for tipping, and I thought like, wow, everyone was
really?
Like, it was one of those moments of just like, of course, this is the rule of thumb, which is if you're standing up, you don't tip. If you're sitting down, you tip.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. Except the drive-through.
And so it's like, when you're walking up to the counter and you're getting your stuff all up there and they're asking for a tip, like, why would you tip there? But if they're coming to you or you're like down at the bar and like they're serving you that way, like, dude, of course you tip. So yeah. Anyway, he like went viral for it. I was like,
is with tipping, and I think they'll probably add crypto to some of these Starbucks things if they're smart. It is I started. I hadn't used cash in a long time until Starbucks started having the policy where you order your coffee, you go through the drive-thru, and they go, "Oh, hey, just answer a question before we give you your coffee." And it's like, "Oh, answer? You mean give you money for no reason?" Is what you're asking? Do you want to tip $1, $5, and you have no guarantee your muffin's actually going to be
It's going to ask you a question. That's right. It's going to ask you a question.
What's the question today? It's how much money are you giving me again?
And so I've tried I've tried no tip, and what you get is fucking, and they just throw it at you basically. I've tipped, and then you drive off, and you go, this muffin hasn't been put in the microwave, not for a fucking second. And I can't go get my $2 back, okay? They didn't, that's it. Like, that's the only thing. And I'm actually like a really good tipper because I used to work in the service industry. And so I appreciate when people do good shit. But when they just demand money and do shitty shit, I'm like, oh, what the fuck? So I started paying in cash. And I discovered that when you pull up to the drive-thru in Starbucks and they go, oh, it's going to be like $9.50, and they pull out that thing ready for that whatever tip, and I go, oh, here's cash. They scoff at you.
Cash? Gross! I'm gonna get COVID. Thanks for giving me COVID with your COVID money.
they know the workaround, and it's interesting to see they know the workaround, but they need to start adding crypto to it, to where maybe they can get some growth to it, and discover that they don't have to con people like they teach them. Starbucks used to be a great company.
What if Starbucks just comes up with its own monetary system?
The Starbucks coin?
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah, like its own Starbucks. You know what I'm saying?
I think they actually literally have like a loyalty rewards coin that is like Starbucks or something like that. So Ian, you're onto it. Like you figured them out already. So this is their end game. Like they're going to launch their own currency. They're going to become their own nation state.
Yeah.
It's backed by the Frappuccino.
So does everybody starting a crypto? I've had people message me, you should start your crypto coin for your show. And I'm like, I don't even know how to do that at all.
How about we just get some t-shirts and stickers?
Does that dilute Bitcoin? Does that affect it negatively to be associated with things that really have nothing behind it?
Does it affect Bitcoin? Not really. But it will affect you when you have a coin that like you're in charge of.
Stupid
like,
gas coin
you don't want to
worth
get
nothing.
into that.
Yeah.
You don't want to get into that world. So I can tell you that we're watching a whole bunch of celebrities like do their meme coins right now, and it's pretty cringe. So,
what do you think about all that shit? Like the Sam Bankman-Fried, the crypto.com and all the commercials they did. Yeah, Ian and I have done like commercials and shit. And sometimes you get a role and you don't even really think about what you're doing. So I don't necessarily blame them. But the impact that shit had on people's lives, Yeah.
No, I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. And like, from my vantage point in the moment, I'm like, great, people are getting the word out about Bitcoin. But the problem is when they're not doing that, when they're getting the word out about something that's not Bitcoin and they're confusing people. And that's what FTX did. And it's a real shame.
And that's the propaganda machine targeting things that are like useful, like what you guys are doing. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a challenge.
So there was a question somebody had that they said, stop skipping my questions. I think I missed that. I want to make sure I got, because people know more about this than me. They're going to ask better questions. So I want to make sure I didn't miss it. So I asked them to retype it, but while they're retyping, what are the expectations for the conference? When and where could the wildest things happen?
Yeah.
And what else do people need to know?
Expectations for the conference. First of all, I think we'll have at least 20,000 people in Nashville. So that'll be really fun. It'll be a good crowd. It could be substantially higher depending on how some of these speakers come in over the next month.
You got a great lineup
maybe
already.
Some of the ones. Yeah, thank you. Some of the ones that we haven't announced yet, though, I think are even going to bring even more star power to it.
You got any breaking news for us right now?
I don't, but I actually have been getting texts while we've been talking from the team about like some of these speakers we've been working on that are looking like they're coming awesome. Through. So I mean, I think it's shaping up to be an incredible, really like an incredible moment in time. And so like this is the thing is like just like in 2021, like I said earlier in the show, like so many people came out just because it was the first event back. And they were just there to experience, life again. Right. This is going to be a moment for people, regardless of how interested you are in Bitcoin, to be part of history. And like, I know I sound like I'm really exaggerating when I say this, but I think that like this will be a monumental moment in American history and world history, depending on it. Like if we got to succeed, we got to get the right people there. But if we do, like people are gonna remember this. So I'm very excited for it. And then the last thing I'll say is like Nashville. Nashville is just a ton of fun. So it's I'm born and raised there. Like of course I'm biased, but man, any excuse I can make to go over to Nashville and have some fun. I'm gonna use it because Nashville's a great town.
You go to the Johnny Cash
yeah.
Museum.
I've never been. I gotta go.
You've never been to Nashville?
I've never been to
Nashville's so
Nashville,
much fun.
man.
So last time I went to Nashville, I went to the Johnny Cash Museum, and then I saw like a dozen bachelorette parties. They have these buses that they ride around. I'm sure you've seen them, Brandon, where all these bachelors celebrating or pedaling. I just thought it was really interesting to me because one of them, there was like probably 30 people celebrating this bachelorette party, and 28 of them were pedaling their ass off to make this giant bus go. But I don't mean to body shame, but the two largest women on that fucking bus were just sitting there not pedaling. I'm like, everybody else is overcoming what you guys are doing at the end of that. Pedal for a little bit, ladies, is all I'm asking.
Dude, well, you realize that pedal taverns are the libertarian nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, think about what they are.
Absolutely. It's brilliant. Totally,
That's
man.
so funny.
Yeah. They take care. I mean, I was watching them like, those fucking bitches, man.
And they sat in back on purpose so they could get away with not pedaling.
I see the skinny ass anorexic bulimic girl.
Yeah. No, they're taking
like
pride in
working her ass off. You know,
You know, I've been on that pedal tavern, you know, around Nashville before. First of all, like you go downhill for the first half, it's great. The second half, you go uphill.
The uphill, that's the shit. Yeah.
It's not as great.
It's tough.
And man, you are like huffing and puffing, and you're working your ass off to get that thing up. And it's hard, man. And you're like, you know, chugging the beer to just like, you know, cool yourself
pedal,
down.
Bitch.
Like
pedal.
Yeah. And you're looking at your friends on that pedal tavern. And you're like, this guy's fucking not pedaling as hard as I am. You know,
nobody wants to be a dick. Nobody wants to be. You're sitting more weight than you're pedaling here. Okay. Nobody can say that nowadays. You get the Lizzo effect going on at the end.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and then you get off and like you're a little bit drunk and you've just been pedaling your butt off and no one wants to say anything to anyone else because like everyone's exhausted
after that battle.
Yeah, and I'm just everyone's thinking like in their head they're like I've been pedaling this whole time.
It's mean,
and these people are just
it's inappropriate. But people are thinking that fat bitch did nothing, and they would never have thought that before. They only thought it because of the one I saw. Now look, people who actually are doing it, I'm not trying to be like a dick, but I just like I witnessed that and I watched it for like a block. I'm like, those two have not pedaled at all, and it's unfair. The question, and then we'll get out of here, was ARAM wanted to know how much Bitcoin is lost due to passwords and access. How does that and those losses affect the price and the value of Bitcoin?
Yeah, great question. Easy answer. The short of it is we don't know exactly how much is lost. It's thought that around maybe 4.5 million Bitcoin have been lost. That's mostly Bitcoin that was owned very early on by people who didn't realize what they were owning, and so didn't care to keep it in a good system. And so what does that do to the value of Bitcoin? Well, it's really hard to know exactly how that affects, but if you zoom out far enough, you would say, okay, well, if instead of only 21 million, maybe there's only ever truly going to be around 17 million that are circulated, then that would mean that the incremental unit, like one Bitcoin, should be more valuable because there are 17 million instead of 21 million. So that's like the easy answer. The other thing that I will say is there has been a lot of, I said this earlier, like there are very liberal, very conservative, very anarchist, all around the gambit in terms of people in Bitcoin. And one of the more kind of progressive liberal thoughts around, what do you do with your Bitcoin when you die? Instead of passing it on to your children and giving them an unfair advantage and all this kind of stuff, they want to basically burn it. And when you burn your own Bitcoin,
fucking maniacs,
it actually makes everyone else in the system a little bit wealthier because you've just made Bitcoin that much more scarce. So that's an interesting thought that they have. Yeah,
that's an incentive
but it doesn't exist in their system.
Yeah, make my people who I've identified with. Yeah, I'm going to make you guys a little bit of money.
I'm going to start robbing banks and just burning the cash so I can increase that.
I love to go into banks and say, give me all your Bitcoin. Give me your Bitcoin. You motherfucker, I'll shoot you. Give me your Bitcoin. All right, man. Thank you for joining. I have so many more questions, but we gotta get out of here. Maybe we'll do it again sometime. And
that'd be great.
I am gonna come to the conference. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be fun. It's 25th through the 27th of January.
Oh, I'll go with you.
July.
Or July, excuse me. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
I can't go with you, Brad.
Why?
Well, because
Because I got the month wrong, Ian.
Yeah,
I
you
get
got the
one
month
chance
wrong.
to get the month right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had one shot.
That's
You got one
it.
shot. Can't go now.
Yes. So thank you for putting up with us, man. And really a lot of great information. You're very knowledgeable about this. I would love to know like how you got into all this at such a young age, coming from the University of Alabama, obviously inspired by that brilliant Roll Tide commercial. So I love to see what the
Can I just say I was starstruck when I first entered this call. So
no, I walked around all day going, yeah, I'm the guy from the Roll Tide commercial. Roll Tide, is that what you want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't ever let it go.
You guys didn't see this, but before we went live, he actually did reenact his scene in that commercial. So I got to see it in a little private showing.
I fake made out with like something too. It's very, very cool. Roll Tide. Roll Tide. I'm a Georgia Tech fan, Brandon. So I have been living vicariously through Alabama beating UGA for a very, very long time. So I appreciate that.
It's a service. Yeah, it's a service to the world.
What website? Where do you need people to go? I know you have 7 days before there's a price increase on the tickets. What do people need to know?
Yeah, it's super simple. Go to b.tc/conference. It'll take you right there. You can check it out. You can get your tickets. Make sure you get them soon. And also make sure you book your hotel really soon because we're packing out the city. And those hotels can get expensive. It could be. I don't know.
No, that's a question. So the reason I asked that is because when I went to Washington, it was they like it's a dog friendly hotel, and I realized that like a lot of people brought their dogs.
You could have brought Edmund.
I did bring Edmund.
Oh, okay.
He went with us. Yeah.
Cool.
I have the video of him and Josh sleeping a fake Trump sleeping together and like 3 p.m. I'm like, wake up, dudes. But I personally want to know because I'll bring Edmund to come buy some Bitcoin.
Amazing. Nashville's a very dog-friendly city, so bring him.
Yeah. Jake Green, by the way, from Liberty Libations. He is a libertarian delegate in Georgia, a cinematographer. He has movies on Amazon Prime stuff. He is the one who told me about the conference, and he's going to be going there. So I just want to give him some credit. Some of the questions that we asked were he gave us some info on those questions. So like. I know you're talking to big names and shit, but you're also reaching people who are like weirdo conspiracy theorists like us. And I appreciate what you're doing. And man, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, super fun.
Thank you guys so much. As a fellow weird conspiracy theorist, it's been an amazing time talking to you guys and great to meet you. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you guys in the comments and the chats, and we'll do it again soon. Have a fantastic rest of y'all's day. See y'all later.